Hello, and welcome to another wonderful talk on the Positive Future podcast, Positive Future for Health at Pain
Mm.
Free. And tonight we've got Ben Simmonds, and I'm really excited. I feel really excited about this one. There's something there. I can just feel it. Ben, we met recently at the Health Hub down in where were we? Devon. Were we in Devon?
Somerset, near close.
Somerset. I lose track 'cause I go to all these amazing events, and
Yeah,
this was no different, really exciting. And as soon as I met Ben, I thought there's something there. I said, come on the podcast.
100%. Yeah.
And thankfully he said yes. Ben, can you tell us all about yourself? How how did you get into and why is it called pro-life progression? But who are you first? How did you get into all of this?
I basically found past life regression through, well, it started off by doing a Reiki course, well, sort of on the start of my pathway down this with this stuff. And then I did hypnotherapy because it seemed like that would be a good way to get into being a therapist, which was going to give me grounding in ways in which to help relax people really. And although we do use hypnotherapy as the technique, it is very simple kind of relaxation, which can be as short as 5 minutes, just to chill you out a little bit, just enough to for the subconscious mind to kind of fire up and start taking you back in time. And this is when I did past life regression later on, and I was just hooked straight away. I was like, this is amazing. It
But
just for the
what was the link there? You went to do a hypno course, and
Mm.
then that was all part of it, or that was something
It was
else?
later. It was later, and it's essentially using those techniques. So it's like a follow-on course from that
Oh,
um,
okay.
to the
But
past.
what made you get it? I mean, what's your day job? What was your before job?
Yeah, so I for many years I've done wedding photography, and I built up a really good, successful business with that. And I really enjoy that. I love it. This was kind of just came out of nowhere, really, and now I like to run this alongside that. So it gives me a lot of variety, and certainly throughout the winter I can do this a bit more, whereas the summer is taken up a lot with the weddings. So
And I came to your stall and you had all these amazing animals and obviously very professional and very together with everything. And yeah, so you're doing the photography as you do, taking weddings, and you thought, I'll be a hypnotherapist. How did that happen?
I guess it's just it was a bit of a calling for me, really. I spoke to a shaman, and at the time he suggested that
Oh,
I look into different therapies that I could benefit from personally, and
mhm.
also then offer to other people. So it's been very beneficial to me, and I've healed a lot of things through that process.
Really, so through hypnotherapy, and and then you found the pro-life
Past
regression,
life, past life.
past past life progression. Why is it? I thought it's
So,
regression. What's the
right, it's
pro?
confusing. It's a play
What's the
on words.
progress?
So my I run by the name of Past Life Progression. Now,
Yeah.
it's a play on words of regression because although regression is what we're doing, it is also slightly negative. So the progression implies that we will then move forward with our current life.
Okay.
So could move forward with our pathways from the regression that we have been doing.
That sounds completely makes sense. And can you tell us about your experiences of this? And so this was a calling then.
Definitely, yeah. So experiences with the past life stuff. During the course, it was very evident to me that this was something I was definitely going to spend the rest of my life doing.
Oh
Um,
wow.
the stories in themselves that people come out with are just completely random and absolutely fascinating and very detailed in a lot of cases. Um, it's a bit like going to the cinema and not really knowing what film you're going to watch, I
Can,
guess.
can you tell us about something that springs to mind, or can you share anybody's
Yeah,
story?
there's been lots of stories, lots of regressions that I've already done. I have done quite a few fairs, obviously, and festivals where I've been known to regress up to 16 people in one day. Um,
Wow.
Hence, yeah, so hence the being able to get to the relaxation in about 5 minutes. You have to be quite quick with it. Um, there's been so many stories. A personal one of my favorites was I was an Egyptian slave.
Oh
I've always
yes.
wanted to go back to Egypt, primarily to find out how the pyramids were made. So, of course, when I found myself in this situation, that was one of my primary, oh, what's going on with these
Yeah.
pyramids building?
Amazing.
Um, and I was taken from my village as an 18-year-old boy, say, around that age, um, on the threat that, they basically threatened my family, that they would kill my family unless I went with them. Um, so all of this stuff is quite believable, and I was taken to the building of the pyramid, where I was there for the duration for years, building this in the hot, in the heat, in the dust, terrible conditions. Um, and during the building of the pyramid, I was able to see certain things that were happening. It would seem that they were somehow melting stone or melting the sand and forming massive blocks, which were
Oh
white.
wow.
And then they would come out of the, the molds, if you like, massive towers with smoke coming out. I could see from that. They did have elephants there, which is obviously they shouldn't really have had elephants in Egypt at the time, but there were definitely elephants there. But there was definitely some kind of levitation going on. It was definitely a bit magicy, bit alternative. So, but you kind of got the impression that if you worked in that area, you weren't coming out of that area because of what people
Mm.
had seen. So,
Did you
um,
get buried with the pharaohs and all that?
no, actually, this is the best bit of it, really, because once the
Good.
pyramids were eventually made, I survived somehow, and I went back to my village, and I was obviously quite a lot older, but I felt I just felt completely wiped out by the experience, and I felt like my life
By,
was
by
over.
by remembering it, by living that life back then.
Not personally now, but like as that character, as that in that lifetime, I just felt like my life was over, and I didn't really have anything to offer the world anymore. And I felt a bit sorry for myself, to be honest, off the back of that. However, people started to come visit the pyramids from all around Egypt, and they would pass through my village. And of course, I said, "Oh yeah, I helped to build the pyramid," and then I suddenly became this like folk legend kind of, and everybody wanted to know how do they do this, what is it, and all these stories that I was able to then tell. And so suddenly I started to feel like actually I've done something amazing here, and I live to tell the tale.
Mm.
Um, so it was a lovely story ending, and it obviously carried a definite amount of healing, but also a very important message.
So how do you when you say healing, is it experiencing that and remembering this or going there? How does it help you today in yourself? What healing are you talking about? That back there healing or healing in you? Because it was your past life, wasn't it? What
Yeah,
healing
so
do you
invariably your subconscious mind will take you to a place, or a past life where there is a situation or a trauma that you can relate to in your current life. So, for instance, if you um, were suffering with a lack of confidence, for instance, it would take you to a scenario where um, then that could be addressed and you could relive a situation, and by reliving that situation you can then release that energy. This can be done in loads of different ways. Personally, I use the breath work technique a lot to just breathe out that emotion. So any emotion that person or myself is feeling, you just breathe that out as if you were breathing out like a fog. And then once that's been released, then you can then move on, and then that emotion does not control you anymore.
I read a book one time called Many Lives, Many Masters. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, absolutely. I've yet to read that one. It's on my list.
Ah, recommend it, but you probably know a
Absolutely.
lot more of this world than I do. And Lives, Many Masters is written by a psychologist or counselor or something, and he got into hypnotherapy like yourself.
Mm.
And as he was trying to help people, stories were coming out, and he started to record them all. And it was past lives, as it turned out. And
Yes.
people were released from all the traumas they're experiencing in this present life. And I mean, I do believe this stuff myself, but I guess it's the age-old question: how do you know it's not all made up and it's not your imagination? What do you say about that?
Well, it's a lot of people do say that, and I say to them, well, I totally believe it because there's been too many recorded cases of people giving very specific details. And even now, I will try, especially if we're in a situation where there are shops or there are boats or anything with names on them. I'll newspapers even. I'll get them to find newspapers. What's the date on the newspaper? Where are you? What town are you in? What does it look like? So I will try and get details. Although this is not important, it is fascinating. The healing is the primary reason we're in there. But there are too many cases where there's so many details that cannot be made up. However, there is still that possibility. And I say, well, okay, well, if your subconscious mind is playing you a story through your imagination that's going to help you to deal with that situation and release that energy, then does it really matter? And there's another theory
Right.
behind it that they're not your actual life. You don't own them. This
Yeah.
could be from other people. They could just be there, like a download, like a Wi-Fi
Yeah.
link to a whole
Yeah.
library of past life.
Yeah.
You know, you
Absolutely.
you don't really own anything in this world. You're just borrowing it, aren't you? So, yeah. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It comes from anywhere. It could come from anywhere. So, yeah.
Amazing. And so have you helped people with chronic long-term conditions or pain? Have you ever helped someone like that? Have they come to you? Is it okay to share any
Yeah,
experience?
sure. Obviously, as a therapist, you can't give names and whatnot, but like situations, very much so. One of my early cases, a client had really bad pain in the back, to the point where she was diagnosed with, I can't remember the exact diagnosis, but she was taking a lot of painkillers, medication for this condition. And like I said, it was one of my early ones. And we basically went back into, and she was an Indian, American Indian, and was on a horse, basically just minding her own business, and was hit in the back with an axe. But it turned
Mm.
out that it was from one of her own people.
Oh,
So that was a bit of a shock. Knocked off the horse, but we removed the axe and then released that energy. Okay, it was quite quick, really. It's quite a quick regression.
as you
And
do.
then, yeah,
Just
and then
remove that
within a
axe.
yeah, take that axe out. It's fine. Everything's fine. Because although you don't actually feel it as such, but
Yeah.
you're aware of that it being
Yeah.
there. That kind of
Oh, I
thing.
think it's fascinating. It's because you're not there. It's not your life, as you say, and you know how to help someone in this experience, how to guide them. So yeah, it's all in the imagination or whatever it is, isn't it? So amazing. And no, so you removed the axe.
Yeah, move through acts. And then, yeah, a week later, she said that the pain had completely gone in her back, stopped taking the medication, and seemingly fine.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
um,
Amazing.
yeah, it is. A long drawn out one. I'll go over it briefly. One client has an issue with their leg and has had since birth. Now, we started on a past life regression with this, and there was a certain situation where that she had drowned with a stone attached to.
Oh
Now, I
wow.
said, for some reason, I just thought, I said, what leg is it attached to? And it turned out it was the leg that was causing the problem.
Was it now?
So we then I asked the subconscious mind how many lives was this related to, and it turned out there was 9
Oh wow.
separate lives. So we've gone through 7 of them, including a collapse in a mining cave. There was also a leg blown off in the Napoleonic War. Um,
As you do.
Horrendous stuff. Like,
Ah,
yeah, it can be quite savage in the past. Obviously, in history, that people didn't live long, so there's lots of death, lots of injury. But like I say, you don't actually feel it. You're just aware of what's going on. But it's very healing, very therapeutic to let these feelings and these traumas go. Things that you can't explain that are wrong with you, like you've got a funny knee or your side's never been quite right, or there's all these so many things, and most of the phobias are the worst. People are scared of drowning, water, heights, flying. Just the list goes on. 60% of those are probably from past lives, and you can get rid of them in sometimes 20 minutes completely.
wow. 60%.
Yeah,
Wow.
apparently.
And Ben, so when you started the hypnotherapy, was it so you started you learned how to do hypnotherapy with somebody,
Hmm.
and then this was a natural add-on. Was this an option that you took the past life progression? Is it was it all part of the same course, or was it something you chose as an add-on?
Yeah, it's a separate course. So you don't have to learn to be a hypnotherapist to do past life regression, but
Ah,
it uses the same techniques of relaxation basically.
okay. And how do you know, do you have your own pattern that you take people through? Do you take them through the questions that you're asking? Was that your development of your way of doing it? Like, how many lives is this? And is this, the questions that you ask somebody, was it your development of that procedure, those questioning line, or is it something that's what you learnt on the call on when
So
you learnt?
yeah, it's like driving really. You learn how to, you learn the basics on your driving tests, and then you learn how to drive. And I don't use scripts hardly ever with anything, even sometimes with hypnotherapy, but certainly not with past life regression, because it's on the fly. You never know what's going to happen next, and you've got to be to think on your feet a little bit. Sometimes people can get a little bit, worked up with the energy and what's going on, and
Mm.
especially for something they're scared of. But I always like relax them and make sure they feel safe, and then come through that process and then release that energy and the trauma. So yeah, it is a little bit different than that, but yeah, it's like an add-on really. Yeah.
And then you sort of develop your skill, and then the releasing part at the end of whatever they've discovered or you've discovered with them, and some kind of releasing, like take the axe out the back. That'd be a good one. And
Yeah.
you do some kind of releasing something to help them complete the story. I think
Yeah.
I think
It's
it's extraordinary.
sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say the releasing of the energy is very different depending on the situation and the person. Everybody sees that differently or handles it differently. The main thing is that it's gone basically.
Yeah. And I do believe this of karmic experiences and layers and layers of lives. I've been looking the last couple of years more into um, near-death experiences and listening about what the Akasha records we had. I've been hearing more about these kind of things, and that this earthly place that we live is just one single experience, but then people believe, I think isn't it Buddhism, that we go through every experience. We are that blade of grass, we are that frog, we are that other person, we are all the different people. We go through multiple endless layers of different lives and experiences. I
Yes,
guess
so they say. Yeah.
I guess to be whole, isn't it? To be enlightened, to be whole, or raise our energy or something. Who knows? I'll let you know. I'll let you know after when I'm on the other side. I'll let you know. Um, and So to have all these layers and layers and layers, and listening to these past life near-death experiences and the Akashic records, it all makes complete sense when you're coming from that point of view. And so this might be something that either people are already into that opening to is possible, and to get some help like from someone like yourself, or maybe they've been suffering and nothing else has worked. So it sounds like a very nice, gentle way um to heal. Do people is
Mhm.
what would you say? Would you say that was true, or is it tough
Yeah,
sometimes?
100%. A lot of people have a lot of things that bother them. There's a lot. Most people have certainly. Oh, as you get into later stages of life, you've gone through a lot of things. Relationships, jobs, children. You know, life throws at you so many challenges, and that's what they are. And it does have an effect. That's quite an effect. So yeah, there's lots. I think without getting into the whole debate about drugs and pharmacy, the big pharmas and all that. I think there's a tendency to throw pills at everything these days, whereas if you go down the natural healing route, um, and I think a lot of people come to that after having tried the medical kind of option. Uh, Depression is a perfect example of that. I think
Mm.
we do believe that depression is basically repressed anger. Now, if you were to release the anger by going back to the situation, and now some of what we do is current life as well, so inner child healing as well, where most of this comes
Right.
from.
So it's not
Then,
just past life; it's also past in that person's life, their
yeah,
past.
yeah.
Mm.
So anything before now, really, we deal with, and in a lot of cases, you can't, or the subconscious mind won't be keen to go back to past lives or to go on a jolly with that when there's a situation when that person is in their childhood that needs to be looked at first or released first.
Mm.
So by going back into those traumas, it's not nice. It's not. But then the 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, even an hour that you spend going through, in an hour you can probably go to 3 past lives and clear God knows how many things, or certainly go back into a childhood situation like bullying at school or something, or
Mm.
the time you got shamed when you were 6 or whatever. By going back into that, it's not nice. It's not nice at all. But by reliving it, and sometimes you have to go into it a few times and rewind and go back. But
Mm.
afterwards, it's like when you go back to where you were when you were a small child, like to your school or where you used to live, and suddenly you look around and you think, oh, actually, it's not as big as I remember it, and it's certainly
Yeah.
not as scary as I remember it. And so it's the same thing. It's almost like you are coming to terms and accepting it, releasing that energy, and then you come through that and you come out the other side and actually, and then it's gone. The emotion that was attached to that, the horrible
Yeah.
feelings or the fear, whatever, it's just gone.
I always think, the feelings are, I always call it like the feelings are the glue, the connection between all things. And we sort of get trapped. Emotions and feelings can get trapped, and they bubble up as physical ailments and things, and backache and whatever else. But it's the emotions that's keeping it in place. And I think that at that time of incidents, you were a little, or past life or whatever it is, that you
Yes.
couldn't you couldn't release it then. You didn't
No.
have the equipment, you didn't have the knowledge or the ability to let it go at that time. So this is a really beautiful way and it's so quick, isn't it? It's so natural and it's so quick.
It's unbelievable. You're right. I thoroughly believe that every physical representation, especially skin complaints and or anything like that, is that it all has an emotional root. And just by digging out the root, which again can take a short period of time, I'm not saying that everything can be cured in one session because that's
Yeah.
so not the case. I've got clients that have been with me for over a year working on various different aspects of things. um, but they all have an emotional root, and so by digging out that root, um, it you're free. You're free, and you're so free.
Mm. Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? Your body doesn't hold on to that story anymore because you've gone through the process of release. And also I think you learn about yourself as well. I mean, I had a past life regression. It was through a
Yes.
shaman lady, and I had this thing hanging around my neck all the time that I was trying to get the word out, and I had my method was proven over and left and right. It's proven, and I just couldn't get anybody to believe me. I thought, what's wrong with people? It works. Here's the testimonials. It works. It's proven. It's easy to do. And so there I was going for several years of since I created this my method, my pain release method. And so I had this experience with this lady, and she said that I was a woman in a family, and in the village there was a disease that was killing people. Something was virus or whatever it was killing people, and I was blamed for it because our family, I was a healer and I was going around mopping brows and cleaning up and feeding, giving water and looking after my family, and my family survived. They weren't, none of them were sick, and
Okay.
so the villagers thought I had jinxed them or something or poisoned everybody because we weren't dead. We were the
Right.
only ones left alive, and they said that it was me. So I had this thing of not being believed,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and even though I'm helping, and this is exactly the same feeling I was having in my own life these days, that I love helping people. I so enjoy it. But then if people don't believe you, it's a big problem in business because nobody will come to you.
Yeah.
So that was incredible. And when I did that, when I went through that process, I started doing podcasts. I've been interviewed all over the place, and my business has grown. And I'm so happy in my soul because I'm doing what I know how to do, and people are getting helped. So it really shifted things. Something shifted, and that was going through that I didn't think. She didn't say think of a past life. She just took me through the
Yeah.
process, and that
Yeah.
came up. And it was like, oh gosh, it was so sweet and natural, so gentle, and made a massive difference. It
It
unlocked.
can be, it can be really natural, and well, always natural, but yeah, very gentle process. Some people find it's a, it's a bit uncomfortable because it's like you're dealing with things that are, that are not necessarily ideal, and but you don't really feel it as such, but it's a case of what you will gain from it. Any healing is not necessarily going to be, there's a big kind of misconception, I think, in the spiritual world, especially people starting to get into that realm, that it's all fluffy rainbows and unicorns and it's all great and everything. But and it is to a degree, but like if you're really serious about shifting the stuff, it takes some work and it takes guts to do it and a
It
little bit of
does.
courage, to be honest. But the
Because
rewards,
that's why you're holding it, isn't it? You're holding it for reasons. So allowing things to change and let go, you got to go through that process, and that you're going to be confronted by the things that are creating your problems.
yeah, you in a way have to, it's like watching a film or playing a game. You've got to beat the bosses. You've got to go through and beat the bad guy kind of thing. And it's but the rewards are life changing, like you say, with your situation. And
Yeah, changed overnight. It was like I could feel the release inside of me, and also because I understood that's a piece of me, that past life. It was almost like, oh, that makes complete sense. No wonder I've been struggling, and so something just automatically shifted.
so it's really lovely that that happened quite quickly as well. And
Yeah,
a lot of things do with people. some people have so many issues. They do have to have lots of sessions to get to clear these
Yeah,
things. But in most
lots of
cases,
us.
like, yeah, I mean, like, but at fairs are a perfect example to do a lot of spiritual fairs, and obviously doing the Healing Festival in Highbridge coming up, which is a big event. Um, you know, if you walked in with, "Oh, I'm scared of snakes," we had one with snakes recently, and within 20 minutes, she was so terrified. This girl, she couldn't even say the word snake.
Wow.
She was that bad. But now she doesn't want to pick him up, but she's not like that anymore. She's cured her
Mm,
lifelong fear or terror of snakes, basically. So yeah.
wow. Because phobias can really muck up your life. I mean, my neighbor, I don't like spiders, but I'm not freaked out by them. But my neighbor is freaked out by them. She won't go in her garden because of them.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's severe. Yeah. So again, something like that
mm,
wouldn't hopefully wouldn't take too long. Everybody's different, and healing and therapy takes as long as it takes. You know, it might take
yeah,
10 sessions to cure that, but like
I know.
potentially it could just be one. Yeah.
It's amazing. And what's the most extraordinary, what's extraordinary moments? Have you had an extraordinary moment or amazing, I mean, they're all amazing, but
Yeah,
does
they
anything
are.
stand out for you?
I think the snake one was one that really stands out for me because she did go into a wee bit of a panic, if I'm honest. We all, if that happens, we use like a detachment technique so that they feel detached from the situation. So, like for instance, you're watching it on a screen, or then you're standing outside a window watching it on a screen. So there's
Mm,
a stages of detachment from that emotion if necessary. Also, I use the pause technique quite a lot, especially if like rewinding it a little bit. And pause technique's great because then you can just stop everything and
mm,
freeze it and then work on that emotion so that we've completely got rid of it, and then press play kind of thing, and go forward a little bit more. And sometimes things, very traumatic things that happen maybe quite quickly, we can work on steadily. um
amazing.
yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Every situation, this is why I love it, every situation is so different. Every client, every story is so different. You never know what you're going to get. It's fascinating.
I love it. And do you think, because you're obviously a creative guy and a visual guy, because the photography, does that play a part? Does that help with your past life progression with visuals and things? Does that play a part in your present work?
Yeah, very much so, especially with coming up with scripts, or certainly the relaxation techniques. A lot of people just take them down through the forest or onto the beach, or but then I'm always thinking, oh, how can we change this and mix that up and make that more interesting for me more, more than anything. Um,
Let's go
yeah,
this way
so
then. Let's go through the water.
yeah, so I mix in the water with the like a waterfall running down your back, and that's relaxing you, and all your muscles are relaxing, and the water's flowing through the forest, and it's been doing that for thousands of years. And so there's all these, like, you know, I come up with, and I'll visualize. I close my eyes as well and just visualize what's going on, and almost link into the energy of what they are feeling or what they would relate to, I suppose. And I think once I get into the regression, I can sometimes even visualize what's going on with them by just reading into the energy as well. So I can kind of almost see what's going on. Some people go in with it before they're even in, if you like, you know, before they even get into that relaxed state, you know.
Yeah, I suppose if they're relaxed, they know what's coming, it's easier for them to drop into it. And
Yeah, I think with this, like with any kind of, it's all very well doing hypnotherapy, but if you don't believe it, or you don't have the intention, it probably
mm,
won't work. Um,
yeah,
because you're gonna be fighting it. So if anyone's coming in to this or anything like that, and they're going, "Oh no, I don't believe it. I'm not gonna let that happen to me." Well, you're gonna lose out. Really, it's just like give it a go. It's like you're not. You can come back from the relaxation at any point. You can hear everything that's going around you. I've done these in a massive hall with bands playing. So much so I literally need to sit right next to them so I can hear what they're saying. And within 5 minutes, I've got them into a past life with people shouting on stage, bands play, unbelievable. I still don't know to this day how that was possible, but because they wanted to do it, the intention was
Mm,
there, and
yeah.
they got something out of it, you know.
And I think I believe everything is vibration, and we have different layers of awareness. Just because we can't see spirits or I don't know planets or past lives or whatever, doesn't mean it's not there. It's just this is the realm we live here. But I believe there's many multiple vibrational layers. I believe. So maybe that's why with all the band playing, you're in another realm.
100%. It's like there's in a film, isn't it? Where do all the stories come from? You know,
Yeah.
it's got to come from somewhere. There's got to be there's reality in
Mm,
everything, and just because you can't see it in 3D doesn't mean to say it's not there. You can't see a lot of things that are in your body or in your mind, but it's there, isn't it?
yeah.
You know. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this is you mentioned did you mention it on the recording or just before you said this is your life experience now doing a
100%, yeah. I think things are. I've been doing just over a year really since I've been doing the fairs and workshops, etc. So, but it's taken off a lot. I've got some workshops coming up in May and June, which are already all booked out.
oh
Um,
wow all booked out already all booked
yeah,
out
yeah,
oh
yeah, all work. Yeah, people
before you
like,
even
but
get there
yeah, there will be more. We'll be doing more. Um, so there's large sort of groups of people, generally up to 12 people, but which we can do like group ones on. And I just love it. And there's no real kind of end to what we can achieve with this. I just want to help people as much as possible.
amazing
And
amazing
it's just so interesting. Yeah.
amazing that's a fantastic affirmation or intention isn't it and so do you do groups at the same time as well as individual people
Yeah, so it's possible to do larger groups of people. It's obviously a lot more generic in terms of the experience because you can go couples are quite easy to do because you can go from one to the other and then let them do the stuff and then come back. So, so the smaller groups you can do like that, but in a larger group you have to sort of take them and use a little bit of their own imagination of where you're going, what can you see, what can you see in this environment, you know, what's happening around you, are there any people there? So you have to sort of almost aim it at everybody.
yeah
um,
Wow, so you can do lots of people at once. And we're just about to open up question time. So if anyone has any question or like to ask Ben, speak directly, just about to open up. And so how many people do you find is the maximum in a group, or is it just as things pan out, who comes to the group? How many people can you do at once?
I've done 12. I think that's probably. I mean, you could potentially do. You could do a whole room of people, but like I think to give them, you know, a bit of more of an individual attention, 12 is a good number,
Mm.
max. Yeah.
Amazing, I find it extraordinary when people work as a whole crowd. And as you said, you have to sort of adjust yourself, but it's extraordinary, Ben. I like it very much, and I just sort of learning more and more about it these days. Would anyone like to ask Ben a question? Want to wave your hand and I can unmute you. Yes, Sunny or Sunny's friend. Who's that? Sunny's daughter, Sunny's friend. Karen's asking. Where is the Healing Festival in Highbridge and what dates, please?
So it's at the Secret World, um, which is like oh yeah, it's at the Secret World Animal Centre just outside Highbridge. I think it's on the 11th, 12th, and 13th of July.
But you personally are all booked out for those dates, are you? Is that what you said?
So I'm there on the Friday and the Sunday, as I have a wedding on the Saturday, so it's going to be a busy weekend. So yeah, if anybody would like to visit there, then I will be there on those on the Friday and the Sunday. But yeah, it's worth coming just because it's just amazing the amount of talks, workshops, and stalls they have there.
Amazing. And how do people, so do you work just in person, Ben, or do you work online at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Most of my clients are online for the most part, and occasionally I do see them in person. But I
Oh,
don't. I prefer to work online. I think with the regression because in most cases people are then in their own homes. They can sit in their armchair or the sofa or even bed, just lie down, and
yeah,
they feel comfortable, and so they're more likely to feel that they can let go of that emotion, that energy.
wonderful. And so, how do people get in contact with you?
So I have a website which will be on the links below, as it were.
Yep,
Also, I do have an Instagram page and definitely on Facebook. So yeah, that's probably through the email or text is the best way to get hold of me.
lovely. And I'll be putting this with the recording. Sunny, you wanted to ask Ben something? Sunny? Sunny, did you want to ask Ben something? If you unmute, ask away. No, oh.
She's gone shy.
Okay. And anyone else would like to ask a question of Ben? Yeah.
Obviously explained everything all right, didn't I?
Yeah, fantastic, amazing. Karen, if you want to.
Hiya. I've always wanted to have past life regression, but I've always been frightened that I'm gonna have a panic attack whilst I'm having it. So can you just explain that again, please, how you deal with panic attacks?
Yeah, sure. I think with most people, the subconscious mind will only put you in a situation where you can deal with it. So it won't necessarily throw you in at the deep end. Sometimes that happens, but not very often. Um, Now, I think I found that with those people, that's been a case of they really just need a bit of a kick to get onto that pathway, if you like.
Mm.
Um, Now, if for any reason people do start to panic, like in this particular situation with the snake lady, um, I would then disassociate them from that situation so we can potentially pause the situation, like you would pause a video. Now,
Okay.
that would give them almost breathing space and time to assess the situation and think about what they're going to do. Now, in that moment, we can then release that fear, that energy that's consuming you in that situation. We can also rewind it. And I also find that by saying, imagine now you're in your living room back in your current life and you're watching this on the telly. So it's still not very pleasant, but it's on the telly. It's
Yeah.
you're not in that situation. You're separate from it. 9 times out of 10, that works straight away. Um, if they're still in a panic, then I would say, right, you're standing outside a shop window watching this on a TV.
Yeah.
So you're even further away or outside your front room looking through the window, looking at the TV. So yeah, those scenarios work very well to calm that down, but just slow everything down, pause it, rewind. But once you've gone through whatever that is, um, you know it won't bother you anymore, and then that fear or whatever that is causing that will just go away. The feeling's gone. It's magic, really.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
No worries.
Cool. And Ben, what about the animals? What's all the animals about?
Um, the animals.
Yeah, because when I saw your stall, you had all these beautiful animals. Is that part of the pro-life regression? Am I getting
Um,
this wrong? I'm
I
sure I
think you were
remember.
probably talking about the banner that I had. I think there's quite a lot of past life examples on the banner. So maybe
Okay.
like the American Indians
Yes, that's it. That's it.
and like Egyptian stuff. So obviously there was like Egyptian. They use a lot of animals.
That's
It
it.
might be that's coming through to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So that it was like examples of stories and things.
Yeah, so it's basically who were you in a past life, so it just gives exciting, but also like normal. Like I think there's a doctor on there and a few other like There's a lot of military past lives,
Oh
which
yeah.
obviously can be quite traumatic. So
Yeah.
a lot of people have like, oh, I really love the 1920s, or I'm fascinated by the war, or the Napoleonic War, or the Civil War, or you know things that happened in a certain period of time. again, 9 out of 10 times it's related to a past life. They want to go back to that and experience it again, and you can, and they're not all horrible. You know, there are some lovely examples of just people enjoying it.
Amazing. And I think this is, if you're open to it, I think it's extraordinary. I mean, I suppose you could do it yourself. You could imagine yourself, and your imagination is really there. Just because it's in imagination, you are really there, because your mind can go everywhere. I suppose this is that would you, what would you say about that? I mean, that's what I feel, but what would you say about that?
I think your mind's a very amazing tool, and coupled with spiritual connection, anything's possible. Anything
Anything possible.
possible.
I remember hearing about this little boy who there's so many stories about people coming into this world, and things like, I remember a kid saying that you're not my mummy, not me in this story,
Yes.
and they looked into it, and there's things like that when the children know that that's not their mum. They said, no, I want my other mummy, you
Yeah.
know, and things like that. And I remember one child was, I think it was on a BBC documentary or something, that they were talking about being in this whole other life with family and a wife and things like that. And when they went to check it, it was all there. The names were there, the places were there, everything was there. It's really quite incredible. I suppose living in this life, we think it's incredible, but when we're all dead, we're going to have a chat and a cup of tea and talk about all this. We'll know all about it.
I think with anything, it's like keep an open mind. This,
Yeah.
the media and the government, everything, it tries to keep a lid on it,
Mm.
and keep us believing certain things. Well, just believe anything's possible. And people say, "Oh, dragons aren't possible, or they're not real, are they? Maybe they're in a different dimension. I don't know." Just keep your mind open to any possibilities, and you'll be amazed at what you will see.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, so if you want to get in contact with Ben, I'm going to be giving the details with the recording, so you'll have all of that. And do go to that event. It's coming up. Ben, I would love you to leave the last word with you, about if you'd like to give some sort of, I guess you've already said so many wonderful things, a last word to people who are perhaps exploring this, or perhaps a thought for life, or something, some kind of word to go off into the evening with. Is that enough time to think of something?
Yeah, I always like to deliver like blunt things, I guess, and I would say don't let fear stop you um, with anything. And there's so many people afraid of trying stuff, and then they get to the end of their lives and like, oh, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that. I've heard it from my grandparents and loads of other people on films. I wish I'd done this with my life, and I wish I'd done that. Well, what have you got to lose, really? You know.
Yeah.
So don't let fear stop you.
Beautiful. That's really powerful and, and direct. Thank you so much, Ben. Ben, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed talking with you and hearing about all of this. I feel really exciting about this. It's an amazing topic, and wonderful that you're doing this and you want to help people, as many people as possible. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on this call tonight. And do get in touch with Ben to take it further, take it to the next step. Go and have a past life regression, see what troubles you can release. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much, Ben.
Thank you.